Chapter 1. Awakening the Species. Get the demon, shouted the angry mob, which consisted of around 50 villagers, 10 chunin, and even a jonin. Run, run, gotta keep running. Thought the 9-year-old Naruto as he darted across the street, down the alley, that led to a training ground. Naruto slipped through a hole in a chain-link fence that surrounded an ominous-looking forest. Naruto didn't give the forest a single glance as he dashed into, hoping to get away from the mob that was chasing him. Little did he know that he had just entered the famed forest of death. Nor did he know that he had entered a forbidden sector that even hardened jonin hesitated to go in, since that area contained lots of creatures and dangerous predators, even unspeakable creatures within that forest. The mob that had been chasing him stopped at the chain-link fence that surrounded the forest. "Arg, the damned hell spawn got away," angrily shouted a nameless villager. "Don't worry, the fox will be dead before morning," laughed the jonin sinisterly. "Why is that?" asked a villager. "This is the forbidden sector of the forest of death. Even I would be hard-pressed to survive in there," said the jonin. Deciding they had finally managed to kill the demon brat, the mob decided to go and celebrate. Naruto leaned against a tree. He was tired and out of breath. His eye darted back and forth, searching for any sign that the mob was still chasing. Something about this place is off. It's too quiet. The animals aren't making noise, this isn't natural. It is as if something scared all the animals away, but what could scare off all the animals? Thought Naruto. But he didn't dwell on it as he decided it was better to keep moving. So he cautiously started walking, keeping his guard up at all times. He had been trekking through the forest for about a half hour, the entire time feeling as though he was being watched. When he heard a twig snap, he swiftly turned around, and what he saw was a giant bear. It looked mean and vicious as it roared at Naruto and charged at Naruto, going for the kill. Naruto was terrified. It swiped at Naruto with its razor-sharp claws. The claws missed him by mere inches as Naruto backed away the beast. The creature lunged at him, hitting Naruto with its shoulder blade and knocking him into a hole under the trees. Naruto hit the bottom with a thump as he fell deep, and everything went black. 1 whole hour later. He groaned as he sat up. "Ugh, what hit me?" thought Naruto groggily, as images of what happened before he blacked out flashed in his mind. He slowly sat up and noticed he was covered in a black substance. "Yuck! What is this stuff I'm covered in?" he exclaimed as he looked around to see glass jars filled with green liquids and what looked to be organs all over the room. The place looked like an old facility, then turned towards 2 liquid-filled glass obelisks set before him. Widening his blue eyes, he saw 2 girls in the obelisks, both blonde hair and lightly tanned skin like his. He wondered who were they? Walking up on them, he saw an old folder as he took it and opened it, reading it. "Test subjects. Sil and Eve," he said out loud as he looked up at the 2 blondes. They looked like identical twins of some sort. Something told him to free these girls. They looked to be around his age. He saw a red button on a console as he pressed it. The liquid obelisks drained as he walked up. Knowing they are naked, he looks around for something to cover them in. He spots 2 lab coats and takes them to the naked girls, blushing as he brought both of them out of their tanks and covers them. He noticed both of them twitch as he flinched slightly, seeing both girls crack open their eyes and looking around their surroundings as their eyes fell on a blonde-haired boy. "Hi?" he greeted the twins, who oddly stared at him as if they were observing him. Both girls weakly stood up and walked towards him, eyeing him in all places. Walking around him, getting a good look at him. Naruto just stood quiet, not sure why were they looking at him all oddly like that. As their green eyes look into his blue eyes. Sil and Eve both exchanged glances at one another before turning their attention to the boy who freed them. Can you talk?" he asked, wondering if they could speak. "Who are you?" asked Sil, keeping her attention on him as her twin sister was doing the same thing. "The name is Naruto Uzumaki. And I'm going to be the Hokage of Konoha," he proclaimed with a grin, with both girls tilting their heads in confusion at their proclamation. "So how are you 2 down here?" he asked, seeing them both frown. "We cannot remember," answered Eve. "I think we were created by a pale man with yellow eyes, our memory is still hazy," spoken Sil. Naruto himself looked confused when she described that. She and her sister were created? By who? As he looked at the folder that still contained some information on the girls before him. He saw the name on the folder and said, "Orochimaru?" Both girls widened their eyes at the name of their creator. Orochimaru was the man who made them. Orochimaru? As Naruto thought more on the name, as he recalled one of his class academy lectures about the legendary Sannin, and one of them was named Orochimaru the Snake Sannin. Both girls have hazy memories of the time they were created by Orochimaru and experimented on. So Sil? Eve? Asked Naruto, making both girls break out of their train of thought and stare at him. Yes? They both replied in unison. Want to get out of here and crash at my apartment? He asked, seeing them look confused on the apartment part. Yes, we would like to get out of here, Naruto answered Sil, keeping her green eyes on him. Okay, so let's find a way out of here, he said, grabbing both their hands and leading them away. 30 minutes later they found a way to the sewers and took that direction back up the surface to the village. Once they made it out of the sewer, it was still dark. Sil and Eve were both fascinated by the village and its people, as they have never been out before. Naruto led them both to his apartment complex. Naruto's apartment. Well, here we are. I know it's not much, but it's still the home that my old man gave me, he said, seeing the two still have a blank look, but followed the boy around. You guys can have a seat, you know, he said, making them instant ramen. Both girls sat down on the couch watching him make them instant ramen. Sil and Eve's pav. Both blonde girls stared at the boy watching him make them food. Something told them to remain close to him and that they felt indebted to him in some sort of way for freeing them. Sil looked at her twin sister, who was probably thinking about what she was thinking. They couldn't remember how long they had been locked inside that lab and were asleep. What concerned them more was Naruto. It was as if they could look into his eyes and tell that he lived a lonely life. As if they could look into his mind. While in their deep sleep state, they had these dreams or nightmares of becoming something truly terrifying, yet they couldn't describe what it was they saw in their dreams. Okay, ramen is ready, Naruto said, breaking them out again from their thoughts. Be careful, it's hot. He warned them to eat his ramen with chopsticks. Both Sil and Eve looked at one another and then at him watching him eat ramen. They blew it to cool off the heat and had a taste. To them, it tasted good as the girls and boy enjoyed their meal. Ah, that was great. Well, time to hit the hay. Maybe in the morning, I'll introduce you two to the old man, he said, seeing Sil raise an eyebrow. And who is this old man, Naruto? She asked, curious to know who he was and wondering should she and her sister trust this old man Naruto speaks of. He's the old man Sandaime Hokage, the leader of Konoha. He's nice once you get to know him, Naruto said, going to his room putting on PJs. Here, you guys can sleep on these sleeping mats I stole, he said, laying them out for the girls, who both looked at the mats then at him. And where will you sleep? Asked Eve. Oh, in my bedroom. Well, come on, time for bed, can't wait for the old man to meet you both. I wonder, could I ask him if could you both be my roommates, since I'm responsible for finding the two of you, he said, going into his room while both girls got in their mats and decided to close their eyes and sleep. Naruto, however, was fast asleep. 10 minutes later. Naruto is twisting and turning in his sleep, shaking and trembling. Sweating. He clutched the blanket, gripping it. He was having a nightmare. He couldn't describe what it was as he continued to twist and turn in his sleep, sweating more. In his dream, he was underwater with two humanoid-like creatures, and they were both female. Tentacles clinging on their bodies. Touching them. What shocked him more was that he was that creature too, like those females. Screeching and roaring could be heard in his dream. He snapped open his eyes, waking from his dream. Panting slightly, he looked around and seemed like everything seemed normal, and it was just a nightmare. He laid back down, going back to sleep, hoping he'll be in a different dream. Little did he know, he wasn't the only one having nightmares. Sil and Eve are practically in the same boat as he was. They shook and tensed in their mats, sweating. It seemed that they were having the same dream as he. Morning. His alarm went off as he looked ready to yawn and stretch, but for some reason, he couldn't move his arms or body. Looking down, he looked shocked at two figures clinging to both his sides. Sil was on his right, Eve on his left. What were they doing in his bed? Sighing, he tried to get out of their iron grip, but they wouldn't budge. It seems he'll stay in bed for 5 more minutes and then wake them up so that they can meet his old man. He wondered what was that dream he had last night. He wondered if should he tell the Hokage. Maybe not, it's just a nightmare, and he probably won't be having that kind of dream again. Chapter 2. Fitting in. Hokage office. Sarutobi Hiruzen, the third and current Hokage of Konoha, also known as the Professor, as well as the God of Shinobi, was slack-jawed at what Naruto told him, while another part of him narrowed his eyes at the thought of the villagers and his shinobi chase after Naruto last night. Where the hell was his Anbu guards who were supposed to protect Naruto? What concerned him more was that Naruto escaped from the mob into the forest of death, running into a dangerous bear that attacked him. Then he winded up in Orochimaru's old laboratory, fell in some black substance, and freed two girls he had never seen before in his life. After a whole 5 minutes of shock-induced paralysis, here is inside as he massaged his forehead and muttered, "Naruto, is there anything you might have left out?" Thinking it over for a few moments, Naruto shook his head and said, "That's about it, old man." Naruto was pretty sure he told the old man everything, as he even told him about his embarrassment of dressing the girls. "And their names are?" he asked, looking at both Sil and Eve, who were both looking at the old man. "Well, old man, their names are Sil and Eve, they are both twins from the looks of it," answered Naruto. The old Kage had his eyes on both girls, who continued to stare at him. He finds it hard to believe that these two girls were experiments of his former pupil Orochimaru. They look completely normal, but there's something about them that has the old Kage on edge. He wondered if should he have them checked out in the hospital. "So, old man, can they be my roommates? They need a place after all," Naruto asked, hoping the Sandaime would allow it. The Sandaime rubbed his chin in thought, thinking, would it be a good idea to let these two stay with Naruto? What's the harm? He might as well let them stay, since Naruto was the one who found them, and Naruto doesn't deserve to be alone. "Well, I don't see any problem with them staying with you as your roommates. They are after all your responsibility. I will have them enrolled with you at the academy so that they can learn," he answered as Naruto cheered loudly that he was going to have his new friends as roommates. Sil and Eve looked happy about being able to stay with Naruto. "They will need clothes since they will be attending the academy. I will assign someone with you," he said, making Naruto frown in confusion. "Who, old man?" Naruto asked. "Nico. Bring me Mitarashi Anko," he called out, seeing her leave and to go retrieve Anko. A few minutes later Anko was brought in. "Asked for me, Hokage-sama?" asked Anko, who was eating a dango. Anko Mitarashi is a special jonin and works under Ibiki, who runs torture interrogation. Naruto raises a brow at the woman before him, making both Sil and Eve frown at her. "Ah yes, I have called for you to take Naruto shopping and watch him," he said, giving the boy money for Anko to pay to buy the girls some clothes. "A-okay, Hokage-sama," she said, rubbing the back of her head and looking at the trio of blondes. "Let's go shopping, Sil-chan and Eve-chan," he said, grabbing their hands and leading them out the door, with Anko following them in tow, leaving the Hokage alone to his own devices. With Naruto now walking down the streets holding both Sil's and Eve's hands, with Anko following behind them. "Hey look, it's that thing. And it looks like that he has whores following him," whispered a villager. "Not only he has two blondes as his sluts, but the snake slut too," another villager said. "If I was Hokage I wouldn't let that thing marry or breed more of its kind," said a Chunin, glaring at Naruto. Naruto of course flinched and ignored them. Sil and Eve stared at the people bad-mouthing Naruto. Their inner alien wanted nothing more than to maim or kill them for insulting them. Anko, however, had a pissed-off expression as she shot daggers at the villagers and shinobi who spoke of her like that. She dared them to say one more word about her or the kid and his girls, because she would unleash a swarm of snakes upon them. Finally reaching a clothing store, they looked ready to do what they had to do. "Alright, brat, I'll take the girls and find them the right clothing. You can go find whatever it is you're buying," said Anko, while Sil and Eve did not want to leave Naruto's side. "Come on, brats, we don't have all day," she said, seeing Sil and Eve remain by Naruto's side. "Sil-chan, Eve-chan, why don't you two go with Anko-sensei so that she could help you get some clothes?" he said, hoping they would listen to him. They eyed Anko as if they couldn't trust him staying with her. "Sil, let's at least listen to what Naruto says and trust this woman," Eve said, trying to get her twin sister to come on. With a frown, Sil nodded as she and her twin went with Anko to try on some clothes. With a sigh, Naruto wondered why those two did not want to break away from him. He went down to the shinobi clothing area to find him some new clothes. He decided it was time to get rid of the orange jumpsuit and wear something different. Looking at the clothes, he picks out black combat shorts, gray mesh shoes, and a black vest. Looking pleased that he found himself a new outfit, he heads to the checkout to pay for his clothes. With Sil and Eve, both alien hybrids, are trying out some clothes while Anko is supervising them. Both girls try out different pairs of clothes. Sil picked out some dark blue pants and a purple and pink shirt with stars on it, then got her some sandals. Eve picked out a tan miniskirt and a beige too with short sleeves, also sandals. Then Anko suggested for them to pick out some panties and bras. They now go to reunite with Naruto. At the checkout, the group is all there as the cashier glares at Naruto. "Sorry, "But we don't serve you," he said until a kunai nearly hit him. "Finish that sentence and I'll kill you for breaking the third law," hissed Anko, holding another kunai as the cashier flinched. "Thanks, Anko-sensei," said Naruto. "Don't sweat it, kid," she replied, glaring at the cashier. Now, having paid for their stuff, Naruto treats the girls to Ichiraku's ramen restaurant. Anko herself stopped at a dango bar and took a platter of dango to eat while the trio of blondes were busy eating ramen. "So Naruto-kun, who are your new friends?" asked Am, the ramen waitress, looking at his two new female friends. "Oh, this is Sil-chan and Eve-chan, they are my new roommates." He introduced them to the waitress and chef. "Hi Sil and Eve." Greeted Tucci. "Hello," greeted both blondes in unison. "And this woman right here, is she your future sensei?" asked Tucci, with Anko now looking at him as if he was telling a joke. "Oh no, Hokage-sama signed me up to look after these brats and take them shopping," she said, devouring more of her precious dango. "Hey, I honestly think you would make a good sensei, Anko-sensei," Naruto chimed in, catching her off guard. "Really, brat?" the snake mistress asked, raising a brow while thinking, would she and the blonde trio make a great kick-ass team in Konoha? "Yeah, right, Sil and Eve," he asked, seeing them nod. They were beginning to trust Anko a little now. That made Anko feel touched. She never wanted to be a jonin and lead a team of her own before. She wondered if she should take that role. As she continued to watch the blonde trio eat more ramen. 1 hour later, the group decided to part ways and go on. Naruto thanked Anko after she escorted them home. Anko herself went to her apartment while still thinking. Would I be a great sensei? She thought to herself while having an image of her and her trio of blondes as Team Anko once again. Naruto's apartment. Naruto is currently in bed with Sil and Eve joining him in bed since they refuse to sleep in their sleeping mats. Well, tomorrow is their first day at the academy, was his thoughts as he drifted off to sleep. Shinobi Academy. Yumino Iruka, a young man with brown hair tied into a spiky ponytail and a scar running across his nose, was busy calling out the names of the students in attendance for the first day of the new school year when he noticed something odd about that day. It took him a few moments to realize why as he asked, "Where's Naruto?" While undisputedly a troublemaker who would skip boring classes, the boy would never deliberately skip school unless he was committing a grand prank. Like the time he somehow got a team of genin, the lowest-ranked ninja, to be covered from head to toe in chicken feathers. A knock on the door caught his attention as he opened it, surprising him to see Naruto in a new outfit, while at the same time, he was flanked by two blonde-haired beauties that could put Ino to shame. Though he wasn't the only way surprised, he and the whole class stopped what they were doing and stared at the blonde trio. Not aware or caring of Iruka's shock or the whole, Naruto cheerfully said, "Yo." Chapter 3. Fitting in Part 2. Shinobi Academy. Gaping at the sight before him, Iruka asked, "And Naruto?" Grinning, Naruto replied, "In the flesh." Staring at the boy, Iruka asked, "What happened to your orange jumpsuit? You look different?" "Oh, just thought I should dress differently, Iruka-sensei," answered the boy, which seems to be the truth. Now understanding Naruto's change in appearance, Iruka then turned towards the two blonde-haired girls and asked, "And this? Is Sil? And Eve?" He may have heard from the third Hokage about receiving two new students. Naruto's grin widened as he replied, "Yep. They are my new friends and roommates." Everyone in the class other than the Uzumaki boy and the twins gaped at Naruto's happy proclamation. For now, Iruka turned his attention to both twin girls and said, "Would you mind introducing yourselves to the class, Sil and Eve?" asked Iruka, seeing both twins now looking at Naruto, who nodded as they both looked up at the whole class. "My name is Sil, and this is my twin sister Eve. Our likes, Naruto, eating ramen and sweets, fighting, cuddling. Our dislikes are bad people who are a threat to me, my sister, and my potential mate. Our dream is to have a big family with Naruto." Sil introduced herself and her sister. While the class had different reactions, even Iruka raised a brow in confusion about the potential mate comment. Staring at the girl, the students were at a loss until a pale blonde girl with light blue eyes named Yamanaka Ino asked, "Just how did you meet that Naruto baka?" When Sil and Eve heard that, they frowned at her and answered, "That is none of your concern." Both twins said in unison. Iruka had enough faith in both Naruto and the third Hokage that the girls were not a threat to anyone, at least for the moment. "Yeah, you both may take a seat." Naruto went up at his seat while both twin girls followed Naruto and sat next to him on his right and left. "Now then, before we start our class," Iruka drifted off. Scene change. "So, what do you think about the new girls?" Turning her attention to Ino, a pink-haired girl with green eyes and a prominent forehead named Haruno Sakura replied, "Both of them are odd." Her paradoxically silent inner persona on the other hand shouted, "At least they aren't interested in our beloved Sasuke-kun." Nodding in agreement, Ino glanced at the two and asked, "What I want to know is why are they both interested in Naruto anyway? It's strange." "No idea, but some of the boys seem to like their looks at least for some odd reason." Neither Sakura nor Ino realized that the more observant boys liked what curves both Sil and Eve possessed. "Did you see the way Kiba was looking at them? He was drooling over them like a horny dog," said Ino with a frown to her. She still couldn't understand why both strange girls are so interested in that idiot Naruto. While the two girls, who were also rivals for a certain boy they and many other girls like named Uchiha Sasuke, continued their discussion about the newcomer, a chubby boy with brown hair and a swirl on each cheek named Akamichi Chouji, was busy munching on potato chips while asking, "Hey, Shikamaru, what do you think about the new girls?" Peering at the two twin girls, a lazy-looking boy with his hair tied into a spiky ponytail on top of his head named Nara Shikamaru muttered, "Troublesome. I don't even want to know how Naruto even met them in the first place." As the two boys talked about the girls, a wild-looking boy with untidy brown hair and a pair of red fang-like markings on his cheeks stared at the two with lust, but his main focus was on Sil. He is named Inuzuka Kiba, as his puppy Akamaru stared at the two too and was getting a strange vibe from both girls. Another boy, with curly brown hair, pale skin, and wearing a pair of sunglasses as well as a high-collared coat, shared similar sentiments with the wild boy. Named Aburam Shino, the boy felt his insides crawling in distress whenever he paid attention to both Sil and Eve. His bugs were telling him that those two girls were giving off a strange aura and vibe. Glaring at the two girls, Naruto was a boy with dark hair and eyes, as well as a face that many of the girls found handsome, which seemed enhanced by his brooding expression. Known as Uchiha Sasuke, the last member of the Uchiha clan and the current #1 rookie of the year, the boy was unsurprisingly a fan favorite among the girls. Focusing his attention on the girls, Sasuke mused, "So the dope got himself two new girls as his friends, doesn't make him any less pathetic, and I bet they are both weak." Having come to that conclusion, he quickly dismissed the three of them. A shy indigo-haired girl with pale lavender eyes that lacked pupils named Hyuga Hinata. Smiling shyly at the blonde boy who seemed so bright with happiness and blushed beet red at his new appearance, Hinata thought, "I'm glad that Naruto-kun has new friends, they seem like nice people, although I wonder if should I try getting to know them." Scene change. Now went home as they stopped to eat ramen before going home, as they had little fun on the first day of the Shinobi Academy. Naruto's apartment night. In bed, Naruto, Sil, and Eve trembled in their sleep as they were having nightmares again. Naruto sweating as he felt Sil and Eve cling to him on both sides and feel their nails digging into his skin and flinched in their sleep. In the dream, Naruto was underwater with the same humanoid figures who were female, one was green and the second one was a darkish pink female. In the dream, he was a male version of the female with red eyes. Dark red-like skin. He was touching both of their bodies and he was dominating them. They were mating. Morning. Waking up in shock from his dream, he still couldn't understand as he looked at the sleeping forms of Sil and Eve clung to him. He wondered why was he having these strange dreams. And what exactly was he in that dream? And what were those two female creatures that he was mating with? Could they be Sil and Eve? He feels confused and not sure what these dreams mean to him. He was sure Sil and Eve did not know about what's going on. He wasn't sure whether to bring this to his old man or not. He couldn't stop having these weird dreams. "Girls, it's time to get up, we gotta head to the academy," he said, trying to wake both girls up. Chapter 4. Genin Exams. Shinobi Academy 3 months later. 3 months it has since Naruto, Sil and Eve have been in the academy. Learning everything they can, basics and whatnot. Reading and writing, that sort of thing, as Sil and Eve were picking up much faster than any other kunoichi and they are becoming fast learners. Naruto and his girls had to endure some of the teachers who refused to teach them since the staff minus Iruka did not want to grade Naruto, Sil, or Eve, so they plotted to sabotage their education. Iruka caught wind of this and reported to the Hokage, who fired half of the school staff and principal. The Hokage dared any other staff member within the school to try and sabotage Naruto's education, along with Sil and Eve's education as well. So far Naruto and his girls are working on some of the basics for the Genin exams. Once it was time for dismissal from the academy, Naruto, Sil and Eve would spend their free time eating at Ichiraku's ramen. The girls, however, eat an abnormal amount of ramen, more than Naruto. Then later on they would visit Mitarashi Anko, their new friend who would be at the dango bar, stuffing her face with dango. She even taught them a thing or two about being a shinobi and kunoichi, giving them tips to help them improve in the academy. Naruto needed help with his clone jutsu, since the ones he made ended up being sickly pale. Anko figured that the problem was due to him having the Kyuubi within him. He had too much chakra to create a simple clone, so she taught him the Shadow Clone Jutsu, which is considered a B-rank jutsu. So yeah, the blonde trio was training and being prepared for the genin exams. The girls were fast learning, knowing how to handle money, knowing how to shop and buy clothes, and they are starting to learn how to cook and bake sweets since they love sweets. They brought their kunoichi gear and we were tutored by Anko on how to throw kunai and shuriken, and how to make traps. During the past 3 months of their Shinobi Academy days, the two girls noticed a lot of boys looking at them and trying to have the girls interested in them, and one of these boys who tried multiple advances on Sil was Kiba Inuzuka. The dog boy tried to get Sil's attention by saying that she should hang with a real alpha and not a class clown like Naruto. Sil of course denied that and brushed him off. The same thing happened with Eve, she denied half of the boys in the academy. Kiba felt threatened by Naruto. He saw him as a challenger to his dominance, his place as a strong male, an alpha male. This drove him to want to defeat Naruto, to humiliate him and prove the blonde boy was a lesser male so that he could impress Sil or Eve, but mainly Sil. Neither of them wanted any other boy, Naruto was the only exception. The only boys who weren't interested in them were Shikamaru, Choji and Shino. The boys, though Kiba is the leader, are jealous that these two beautiful blondes only want to remain by Naruto's side. They couldn't understand what it that Naruto had that they didn't. Sasuke, however, did see slight interest in both blondes, but he had his focus on Sil too. He could tell that she was a potential strong wife to help revive the Uchiha clan once he killed his older brother. Hinata Hyuga had started befriending both blonde girls as the two neutrally trusted her and saw her as a possible threat of taking their Naruto from both of them. Naruto assured them that Hinata was a good friend, but they still kept a close eye on her. Shortly after Sil, Eve and Naruto took their seats, Iruka had entered with a stack of papers. He grinned at them all as he set the papers down. "Alright, settle down everyone," he said, as the students quickly did so. Had the old academy curriculum been in place, the students might have been disruptive, but these students had been trained hard and knew the meaning of discipline. Iruka nodded as he began to hand out the tests face down. "We're about to begin the first of your 4-part graduation exam. These exams will cover a written test, a taijutsu test, a henge test and a clone test. Capabilities, and lastly an ninjutsu exam. Before we begin, I just want to say how proud I am to see all of you make it to this point, and that even though I've only been here a couple of years, you all are the best class of students I've ever had," he said. Seeing that they all had tests and all looked eager to start, Iruka grinned. "So let's begin," he said as they turned their tests over. Meanwhile, in another part of the academy, Sarutobi was sitting behind a desk, studying the array of Jounin-ranked shinobi and kunoichi standing before him. As I'm sure you've all guessed, I've gathered you here because you all have applied to become a Jounin sensei of this year's graduating class. Currently, your prospective students are about to begin their graduation exams. I want you all to watch them, study them, and start to think of which students you'd like to teach and that you believe will form the best teams. Please also be ready to defend your reasons for the teams you plan to suggest," he said. All of the Jounin nodded, with Anko grinning in excitement at the prospect of teaching her first team. She already knew 3 of the students she wanted, but she would need a better reason to ask for them beyond that she was already a mentor and teacher to all 3 of them. When Sarutobi dismissed them, she was the first one out of the room. Sarutobi sighed as the last one disappeared before turning his head. "You should have been in the room with your fellow Jounin, not skulking in the shadows," he said. A man with tall spiky grayish-silver hair and his headband covering his left eye lazily jumped through the window. He wore the standard attire for a Chunin or Jounin-ranked shinobi of Konoha, except he had on fingerless gloves with metal plates on the back of his hands and had a cloth face mask that covered his lower face. His one visible black eye was lazily reading an orange book he had in one hand. He just gave a weird eye smile to the Hokage as he closed the book and put it in his weapon pouch on his belt. "Well, I'm sorry Hokage-sama, but see, I accidentally walked under a ladder and had to backtrack for 100 steps to get rid of my bad luck, and then I had to avoid a black cat, and when I arrived, I figured I would just sit outside and listen, so I didn't disturb you," he said. Sarutobi just sighed, closing his eyes. Kakashi, I do not have time for your excuses, he said, looking at the now identified Kakashi. Kakashi Haddock was one of the foremost jounin of Konoha, known to have mastered over 1,000 jutsu, and was the only surviving student of Minato Namikaze, the Yondaime Hokage himself. His teammates, Obito Uchiha and Rin Nahara, had both been casualties in the last shinobi war. Ever since their deaths and the death of his sense, Kakashi had taken the attitude of a lazy slacker, seemingly uncaring of anything, and constantly showing up late to everything but the most important of meetings. Despite this though, he was a dangerous and lethal shinobi. Sarutobi looked back up at Kakashi. Kakashi, if you're going to be a sensei, you need to understand the students you'll be teaching. You can't do that if you show up late to assessing them. Kakashi shrugged in an unconcerned manner. I already have a fairly good idea of the capabilities of the students. I don't need to watch them. Besides, I also already know what team I want to suggest. And what if you shouldn't get the team you want? What then? Sarutobi asked as Kakashi gave him another eye smile. I'm pretty sure I'll get the team I have planned, he said. But I guess since I don't have anything better to do, I'll go give the kids a look over. If that's all, Hokage-sama? He asked. Back with Naruto. Naruto, Sil, and Eve successfully passed a written test, now it was up to them to handle the Taijutsu test. Iruka paired both Eve versus Ino. Good luck sister. Said Sil. Yeah, Eve-chan. Knock her out. Naruto cheered with Eve now smiling. The two were in the ring as both blondes stared at one another. Eve was staying focused on Ino. Ready, fight. Iruka yelled out. Ino charged at Eve pulling back a fist and thrusting it at the blonde-haired girl. Eve dodged swiftly and did a roundhouse kick sweep at Ino's feet, knocking the girl down. The class watched with shock while both Naruto and Sil were smiling. Why you? Ino said, growling, recovering as she got up again and tried to attack Eve again, only for Eve to counter her attack and kneed the girl's stomach, making her gag. Now off guard, Eve sent a strong right hook at Ino's face that sent her out of the ring. Winner Eve? Shouted Iruka while Naruto and Sil cheered. Alright, Sil versus Sakura Haruno. Iruka called out as both girls made it to the ring. Alright, let's kick this bitch's ass to impress Sasuke-kun. Shouted inner Sakura. Yeah. Sakura agreed with her inner self. Sil just watched Sakura. Ready? Fight. Iruka shouted as Sakura now charged at Sil, going to pound her face in. Now using a sloppy left hook fist at Sil, who caught it and kicked Sakura's right leg, knocking the pink-haired girl down on the ground. What the hell? Ow. Sakura rubbed her leg. Are you done sitting there? Sil taunted. Shut up you bimbo. Sakura screeched, getting up and preparing another attack, only for Sil to dodge it and uppercut Sakura's chin, causing some teeth to fly out of Sakura's mouth, now missing 5 teeth as Sakura flew out the ring knocked out. Others winced when they saw that, while Naruto clapped for Sil, with Eve doing the same thing. Sasuke was watching Sil with even more interest. It seems Sil is a strong candidate to be his future bride. Sil is the winner. Declared Iruka. Alright, next up is Naruto versus Sasuke. This made everyone watch with interest. It was now the Uchiha rookie versus the dead last. Ready to lose, dope? Sasuke taunted. I should be asking you the same thing, duckass. Naruto said, causing all the fangirls to be irate with Sasuke glaring at Naruto. Ready? Fight. Iruka called out. Sasuke immediately runs at Naruto and is about to punch him when Naruto just shifts slightly to one side and knees Sasuke in the gut. Naruto jumps back and watches Sasuke get up. Naruto says, "Is that all you got, Sasuke?" Sasuke ignores him and once again tries to punch Naruto, but quickly shifts into a kick, knowing Naruto would dodge the punch. Naruto quickly sees this and can dodge the kick to the side, but instead takes the hit to keep looking up. Naruto skids back a few feet and sees Sasuke want to finish this with the next attack. They both run at each other with a punch ready. They are both about to hit each other, but Naruto shifts slightly and Sasuke misses his punch. Naruto's punch connects with Sasuke's face and he goes flying back a few feet and hits the ground. Iruka says, "Winner Naruto." Sasuke gets up and glares at Naruto. Everyone else is shocked that Naruto beat Sasuke except Sil, Eve and Hinata. Alright, next lesson, Henjutsu. Sil and Eve. Iruka called out. Both blondes did the Henjutsu and became Mitarashi Anko. Good work. Naruto, you're up. Iruka said. Naruto himself became the Sandaime Hokage. Good work. Now next lesson is the substitution jutsu, Iruka said. Naruto turns around and disappears, and in his place is a scowling Mizuki, who has been getting madder and madder at Naruto for ruining his plans once again. Naruto reappears where Mizuki was and has a small smirk on his face. "Congratulations Naruto on becoming a genin," Iruka says happily while handing a headband to him. Naruto just takes it and sits back down. Sil and Eve both disappeared. In place of the two were Sakura and Ino as they both appeared. "Congratulations Sil and Eve on becoming both genin," Iruka called out. Now happy that all three of them graduated, it was time for them to go visit Anko and tell them they passed. Mizuki glared at the trio of blondes. Now how was he supposed to get Naruto to steal the forbidden scroll for him? He needed to plan something to steal it and retrieve it from his master Orochimaru. Turns out he has to steal it himself.